Think positive.
Welcome back to the Ghoul and Bros podcast, GA for short. I'm your host, Prince. This is a space for inner work, self-improvement, self-discovery, mindset, accountability, integrity, reflection, and personal development. This podcast is built for growth, for honesty, and for becoming a better version of yourself, one day at a time. New episodes drop every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Today's episode is called Appreciative and Grateful. The mind rarely sits still, always thinking about something, always moving toward the next thing, always looking ahead. Even in moments where something good finally happens, the mind doesn't stay there for long. Some things in life start out meaning a lot. Effort goes into getting them. Time gets invested. Energy gets spent trying to reach a certain point. For a while, that goal sits in the distance, thought about often, worked toward constantly, sometimes even worried about. Eventually, the moment arrives. The thing that once required effort becomes real. At first, it feels good. Accomplishment shows up. A sense of progress settles in. But something interesting tends to happen after a while. The same thing that once meant so much slowly becomes normal. Nothing about it actually changed. Perspective did. The mind adjusts quickly. What once felt important starts bleeding into everyday life. And once that happens, attention begins shifting somewhere else. Something new appears on the horizon. Another goal, another level, another thing worth chasing. Now the focus is on that. Meanwhile, the thing that once required effort barely gets noticed anymore. Not because it lost value, because it became familiar. That shift usually happens quietly. No announcement. No obvious moment where someone decides something isn't important anymore. Life just keeps moving. Days pass. Schedules fill up. Responsibilities take over. Little by little, the thing that once carried so much meaning becomes part of the background. Human perspective adjusts quickly. Anything experienced long enough begins to feel normal. Something that once felt rare becomes expected. Something that once felt meaningful becomes routine. And once that routine sets in, appreciation usually starts fading unless attention stays on it. Looking back at the effort behind something changes the way it feels. Every meaningful situation has a process behind it. Time passed before it happened. Energy had to be invested. Patience had to exist during moments where progress wasn't guaranteed. Those moments often get forgotten once the result finally shows up. The result stays. The struggle fades, but the truth remains simple. Hard work created the moment. Without that effort, the present situation wouldn't exist. Recognizing that effort brings something back into focus. Respect for the process that built the result. Another pattern tends to appear right after progress settles in. The mind begins looking ahead again. New possibilities start forming. Another idea shows up. Another improvement begins sounding interesting. Another direction starts looking worth exploring. That instinct isn't unusual. Growth tends to create that type of thinking. Reaching one level naturally reveals another one. Ambition expands the picture. Thoughts begin pointing toward the future, but something subtle happens during that shift. Attention moves toward what hasn't happened yet. Meanwhile, the present moment slowly stops receiving appreciation. The cycle becomes obvious when stepping back and looking at it. Something gets chased. Time gets invested. Energy gets poured into reaching it. Eventually, progress happens. For a short time, it feels meaningful. Then life keeps moving. The mind begins looking towards something else. Another opportunity. Another improvement. another level. The original goal fades into everyday life. Then the process repeats again. Effort, progress, normal. Then chasing something new, over and over. That pattern explains why life can sometimes feel like a constant chase. Not because progress isn't happening. Progress does happen, but the mind moves past it too quickly. Recognition fades before appreciation settles in. The next pursuit replaces the last one. Then another one replaces that. Eventually, it can feel like nothing ever stays meaningful for long. Everything becomes temporary. Every accomplishment becomes routine. Every goal becomes the starting point for another one. Stepping back for a moment changes the entire perspective. Looking at life as it exists right now reveals something interesting. A lot of things that feel normal today once required real effort to reach. Situations that feel routine now once felt uncertain. Moments that feel ordinary now once felt important. Progress happened. Time passed. Familiarity took over. Awareness moved somewhere else. But the effort behind those moments is still there. It didn't disappear. It just stopped getting recognized. That's where appreciation comes back into the picture. Not as some big dramatic realization, just simple awareness. Recognizing that progress already happened. Recognizing that effort already created something. Recognizing that many parts of life today once required patience to reach. That awareness changes perspective. The same life that once felt routine begins showing the effort behind it. The present moments start carrying more weight, and appreciation begins returning naturally. Appreciation doesn't cancel ambition. Growth can still continue. New goals can still exist. The future can still be exciting. But appreciation balances the experience. Ambition pushes forward. Gratitude keeps perspective grounded. Both can exist at the same time, and when they do, progress begins feeling different. The journey becomes something meaningful instead of something that's always incomplete. Without appreciation, the mind keeps chasing the next thing without ever feeling satisfied. Every step forward becomes another expectation, another level, another destination, another thing to reach. The moment one goal is reached, another immediately replaces it. That cycle can continue forever, but appreciation interrupts that pattern. It reminds the mind that progress already happened, growth already occurred, effort already produced something real. Sometimes the biggest shift doesn't come from gaining something new. Sometimes it comes from recognizing what already exists, noticing the effort behind it, remembering the patience it once required, understanding that many things that feel normal today were things that were once chased. Realizing that changes perspective immediately. The present moment begins carrying more meaning. The journey begins making more sense. Life will always move forward. New goals will always appear. Another level will always exist somewhere ahead. That part never really stops. But appreciation changes how the journey feels while you're moving through it. Because many parts of life that feel ordinary today once required effort to reach. They once sat somewhere in the distance. They once existed as goals. They once required patience. Now, they exist as part of everyday life. Progress didn't lose its value. Attention simply moved somewhere else. Appreciation and gratitude force people to slow down. And slowing down is something most people don't want to admit they need to do. But practicing it intentionally, actually taking the time to do it, can make a difference. I hope you found something worth taking with you today. Maybe a new perspective, maybe a moment to pause and reflect. Thank you for being here and sharing this space with me. Your presence matters. If this resonated with you, share it with someone you care about because growth spreads through connection. I'll see you next time. take care of yourself, stay grounded, and as always, be safe.